web TV site near you. My name is Aine Duffy and we bring the programme to you weekly on Friday 7 to 8 Greenwich Mean Time. Each week we take a look at what is going on in the county and invite guests to chat live in the studio. If you have an event you want us to know about or an issue you'd like discussed, please email us at drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So, anything interesting going on, please do let us know. Great programme in the studio last week. Michael Loughnane told us about sleeping out rough in Dublin, and the No campaigners got emotional as to why we should say no in the upcoming referendum, and Mary Taylor laid a wreath at the long-lost grave in the Bully's grave of her grandmother, Annie's Blessing in Bully's Acre, and that is 72 years on from her death. Now last week I caught up with Marilyn O'Connor, who launched her book The Legend of Lough Sheelin. That's a child's book. We didn't get to do that interview last week, but we're going to do it this week, so please do stay with us. And just to let you know that Marilyn tomorrow is signing copies of her book in Easton's at 11 o'clock, so go along and meet Marilyn there. What's going on in Cavan this week? Well, the Walking Festival is still on. It started on the 1st of May and it's going through till the 10th, so it ends this Sunday, so you still got this weekend to walk. You can go to the Johnson Central Library or go online to see the walks this weekend. Okay, and speaking of walking, Darkness to Light is on tomorrow morning or tonight, whichever way you look at it, and that's at 4:30 in the morning outside the Farnham Hotel. We will all gather. It's a 5k walk or run, whichever you feel like, in the morning, and it's for Pieta House, a very, very worthwhile cause, so see you there. Now people are sending in their emails, so please keep doing so, and Lorraine O'Neill reminds us that the Quilket Challenge is on next Saturday, that's Saturday the 16th, and it's organised by Cavan's Lions Club, and funds go to the Lions Club and to Cystic Fibrosis Cavan. You register before the walk, and starting time is from 8 a.m. and it goes through till 12 or 1 in the afternoon, so you must register before you do the walk. Now, there was a fantastic concert in St. Phelim's and St. Patrick's Cathedral last night. Cavan singers performed Antonio Vivaldi's Gloria. Also, sacred hymns were performed by the choirs from all the Cavan Town secondary schools. You had Loretta College, Cavan, the Royal School, Brecknock College and St. Pat's College. A very, very, very beautiful evening, a great concert. The newly refurnished Farnham nightclub was officially opened last Friday. Cavan TV was there, of course, and if you want to see the interviews that Paul Cox did with Louis Walsh and Paddy Cole, you can go on to Paul's Green Room and you will see the fun that was had in the Imperial last Friday night. Now let's go to some local town news. Born in 1980, Father P.J. Corrigan, former curate out there, is launching a DVD of video clips of that time. That's next Monday evening at 7:30 in the community centre. You never knew you could be in some of those clips from then. There's a coffee morning in the Coothale Daycare Centre. That's next Thursday and it starts at 10:30 to 1 o'clock. Do pop in and have a cup of coffee and give a donation, and that goes to Cavan Alzheimer's branch. Red Hills says congratulations to Lanita Sheridan. She is Cavan's new Rose and she will represent us in the Rose of Tralee next September. Well done, Lanita. Cavan says no to Water Charges Group say their next scheduled march is Saturday the 30th of May. Like the last time, it starts at Argos and it goes on to the town square, and that's at 1 o'clock. Cavan Sports and Leisure Centre announced that it's to get an outdoor bowling green. Apparently there are many bowling clubs in County Cavan. You've got places like Shercock, Baileyburn, Knockboy, Drum, Coothil and Killigarry. The 4-ring green will be a central green, and that will be so that all Cavan clubs can go there, and they hope to attract clubs from neighbouring counties. The project will be complete in June of this year. The next Citizens Information Evening will be in the Johnson Central Library next Monday, 11 a.m. to 12:30, and the presenter there is Sheila Hayes, and it's information on one family parent payments. Don't forget now, folks, if you want any of your news mentioned or your town news mentioned, please email us at drumlinmedia@gmail.com. Now, are there any tractor runs this week? Oh yes, there is. There's one in Kernafane this Saturday, and that's at 1 o'clock in the car park outside Machine's Bar. Funds raised will be for St. Christopher's Hospice. Arva Trotters tell us that they meet at the Breffni Arms Hotel on Sunday mornings at 11:15, and they also go walking on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Everybody is welcome, and if you bring your doggy, please bring him on the lead. Coothil News in Gallenway House, there will be a traditional music session every Monday night, and all musicians are welcome, and that's young and old, and it starts at 9 o'clock. There is a fundraiser for cancer home care support in McCabe's Bar in Ballyjames that's on this Saturday night, and it's a shave or die. If you want to take part, contact Dermot on 087 9025 643. So sad. That's Save Our Sons and Daughters. They opened a new drop-in centre in Bridge Street in Cavan. SUSAD is funded by fundraising and donations totally. The centre is manned totally by volunteers. They've got a total of 39 people who offer services, counselling services, assessors, suicide intervention officers, fundraisers and a listening voice on the phone. Everybody is welcome to drop in for a cup and a chat, and the coordinator there is Christine Wynne. If you want to talk to Christine, call her on 049 432 6339. Kilishandra, they've got social dancing for all in the Martin Memorial Hall on Thursdays 8 to 10, lessons included, and you don't need to bring a partner, you can get one on the night, that's good. Now the Mall at JFK 50 Mile Challenge is on the 6th of June. This is it, folks. We, myself included, are going to walk 50 miles in 20 hours. Do you think we'll do it? That's the challenge that Roosevelt threw down to his generals way back in the beginning of the turn of the century. He thought his generals were getting too fat, well fed and a bit settled in their seats. So he threw down a challenge to walk 50 miles in 20 hours. And President JFK, he also threw it down to his generals in the 1960s, and now citizens are doing it for themselves. So they're doing it up in Moyla, that's near Oldcastle. It's the fourth year to do it. It's a fundraiser for the Irish Cancer Society and the Lark Centre, and please folks, please sponsor me and please sponsor anybody that's doing it. It's a fantastic challenge, and see you there on the day. Cavan Country, well, we had Larry and I in the studio at the launch of this, and their heats are doing very well, and you can go along to the Kilmore Hotel tonight at 8 o'clock and see Who Can Country, and tickets there are €20 on the door. Okay, the earthquake in Nepal, known as the Gorkha earthquake, has caused the deaths of over 7,000 people and unforetold suffering and loss to many thousands more. Now folks, as is usual, we here in Ireland do what we can to help. So here in Cavan tonight, there's a fest of music by local artists in Blessings in Cavan town. Please, if you can, go along, pop in and support, and all that starts at 9:30. Now, out in Kilishandra, this is interesting, male-only cooking classes have started in the Focus FRC Centre. That's on Friday mornings from 9 a.m. to 12:30, and it's for the next 4 weeks. You can book your place, 049 436 4065, and it's free of charge. Lara News dancing in the community centre on Tuesday night. This Tuesday night coming, music is by Showbird and Supper Served. Admission there is €10. Now folks, there is a referendum on the 22nd of May. You vote on the same-sex referendum, the same sex, whether you want the same sex, yes or no, and also on the age of a house, on the age, the minimum age that somebody can go to be president. Now, just one point I'm going to make is, please make sure that you vote. First, make sure that you're on the electorate. So you go into the county council or go online and check that your name and address is on the electorate, because if you're not folks, you can't vote. This weekend in Cavan Crystal Hotel is the Windows Literary Weekend. It's on Saturday and Sunday, and that takes me to tonight's first guest. I am honoured indeed to have in the studio poet Noel Monaghan.
Hi Anya.
Thanks so much for coming in, Noel. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I've been seeing your name and your books and everything all over the years, and you are very famous in Cavan for your poetry and indeed all around for your poetry and your awards. You've won many awards as well, and you do lots of different things. First of all, we're going to talk about, our main thing is to talk about the Windows Weekend,
yes,
Literary Weekend. But we're going to talk about Noel Monaghan first.
Right,
Let's see what makes this man tick. You come from Granite in County Longford.
That's right. I was born in Granite, County Longford, and grew up and went to the national school there, first to Cavan and then to the boys' school on the hill in the 1950s.
Is that still there? No.
No, it's gone now.
Yeah.
The school
There's
on
a
the hill
cult
is gone.
there,
They're back to where the nuns were, you know, but of course there are no nuns teaching anymore, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a lovely experience growing up at that time. Of course, we knew no different, you know. That was Devil Airs Ireland or thereabouts, you know.
Yeah.
So it was, you had to be inventive really, and we hadn't television, you know, so it was the radio age, you know.
Noel went on and you studied English. You went to college and you became a teacher.
That's right, yes. I studied, you know, in Maynooth College, and I came out then with a BA and did the HDIP, did my HDIP hours in Canuckwear in Granard. And then
That was handy, wasn't it?
it
To
was
get back
very
to your
easy, yes,
town,
it
yeah.
was, yeah. And I really enjoyed it. It was a lovely school. And then I saw an ad for Ballyjames Duff, and I said I'd try that. And I got a very short interview. Really, in those days, you just met the nun in charge. It was a wonderful nun, Sister Bonaventure, and she just asked me a few little questions, and then you have the job. It was easy to get work in those days, you know, because not many were going to university on you, you know, so it's so difficult now, you know, it's so
You could nearly
changed.
pick where you wanted to teach in those
You could,
days, couldn't
yes,
you?
you
So
could.
different now,
Yes.
isn't it?
And I fell in love with Ballyjames Stuff because it was a lively place. And anyway, when we got to summer holidays, you wanted to go straight away to England or America and work, you know.
Do some serious work.
Exactly.
Well, get some
I don't
serious
know.
money, maybe.
Serious money, because
Serious
the difference
money.
was huge in
Okay,
those
so you
days.
loved your life at teaching. I must say that you married, when I was at school, there's this beautiful young girl called Anne in
That's
my
right.
school, Miss O'Leary, and you
Anne
married Miss
O'Leary,
O'Leary.
that's right, yes, yeah.
So, and then where did this love of poetry, where did your literary all start? You know, well, how did this all start?
Well, you know, I really loved music, you know, and still do, of course.
You were in the
I was
Cavan
at-
Singers? I didn't know you were in the Cavan
was with the
Singers.
starting of the Cavan
know
Singers. I
that.
was an ex-chairperson of Cavan
Brilliant,
Singers way back.
yeah.
But see, when I started writing poetry seriously, you can't turn up for rehearsals and all that.
you
But
have
I
to
love
stick to one
music.
thing, I
yeah,
guess,
exactly.
yeah.
You know, so I loved music, and I had a guitar, and that was the love of my life, really. I love people like Leonard Cohen and
He is
Bob
a poet,
Dylan.
yeah.
He is a poet,
Yeah.
of course. Bob Dylan and Paul Simon, Simon and Garfunkel. And I really felt that that was the beginning of poetry, because the lyrics were beautiful, and of course the music was wonderful. And again, it was handy to bring along to America or to bring it to England. And I did a fair amount of busking in the early stages.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Gosh, yeah.
doesn't seem like it now.
Isn't it a
Yeah.
fantastic medium to move your poetry through music, or move your music through the poetry?
It
Really,
is.
it complements each
it's
other. Lovely,
lovely,
really.
really.
It's handy when you're good at all those kind of arty things.
Well,
isn't
I
it?
loved it, you know, and in those days, you know, you're talking about the 60s, there weren't that many playing guitars at that time, you know, so I really enjoyed it. And then when I moved, when I started in Ballyjames Stuff, word got round that I was musical, so to speak.
Yeah, and you
then of
could
course
produce some musicals,
the
yeah.
nuns then started and said, maybe you'll do a musical. So I started really with something wild. I did the Mikado, the Gilbert and Sullivan, and then we never had a tradition in the school for that at all, and I got away with it. You know, that's all you can say. You
The
know.
lyrics,
Yeah.
Gilbert O'Sullivan was probably more popular at that time
Exactly, you
than
know.
Gilbert
So
O'Sullivan.
we had the wigs and all the costumes and that type of thing, and it went
Actually,
down.
that tradition went down quite a good few years, Tristan.
It did, yeah.
It did. You carried that tradition a
I
good few
carried
years.
that tradition, you know, we did the Sound of Music then, and I was a real winner, because I think Sound of Music is a wonderful story,
isn't
you
it?
know, it
It's-
really
yeah.
is. And there's a history behind it, the Anschluss in 1938, and you have the Germans and all that. And then I went on and we did, what was it, Oliver then after that, and Oliver's a great story,
Yeah.
really. And then I started writing musicals.
Yeah, then you got serious. You've
yeah.
won some fantastic awards. You know, like in the last few years I heard about, I love you won the PJ O'Connor one for
That's
Broken
right,
Cups.
Broken
That was
Cups,
fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
And you've written, you know, you've got like, what, you won your 7th poetry book now at this
Seventh
stage?
finished, yes. Well, the seventh now, the sixth in English, and the seventh was a translation of a selection of my work, Celui qui porte un veau, the one who carries the calf. It was based on a poem, really a piece of sculpture in Athens that I really loved, you know, and it reminded me of my father, because he was a farmer in Granard, and it's this peasant man carrying a calf on his shoulders, you know, and you have this wonderful determination in his eyes, you know, as he seems to be going in one direction and never looking back. You know, that determination that you have with strong people and great people in life, and I think my father was that type of person.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
saw you've been interviewed before in an interview, and somebody asked you what was your inspiration to give you a poem, and you said it was life stories or life experiences.
Yeah, life in general. I mean, Granard has been great inspiration to me several times, because there was like such extraordinary characters in the town. You know, Diary of a Town really is the living
But aren't all
memory.
towns, though, in Ireland do have their characters when you look back?
yes.
And certainly when you lived there,
Yeah.
you consider them the
Exactly.
characters.
Ex-
Of course, Granite had a tragedy there as well. You know, the
That's
Anne
right,
Lovett
yes,
story.
yes,
And
yeah.
that is still ricocheting, still
Yeah.
rippling around Ireland, you
Yeah,
know,
it
and
is, yeah.
it's moved many people as well
Yeah.
to write songs
It
about it.
has,
and
yes. You know,
it's been hinted at
yeah.
in a lot of
Well, see,
films as well.
Yeah, you see, what happened in Granada at that time, the Anne Lovett affair, really, it happens everywhere, you know, but for
Yeah.
some reason or another, the media really hit hard there, you know, as such.
There
and,
seemed to be closing in of the town at that time. Was that,
yeah,
was
or
that kind
at
of a
least
defence mechanism?
I think really, you know, and I'm a native there, I think really it was media really who felt maybe the word closing in, you know, as such. It's very hard, you know, for a school to recognise that there's a problem that a young girl is pregnant. You know, it's something that they can conceive. You know,
well, I
as
just
such,
hope
you know.
now that somewhere that we did learn something from
Oh, I
that.
think so.
That
I
young
think
girl
so,
to lose
yeah,
her life
yeah,
and her baby and
yeah,
everything.
exactly. You
But
know.
moving on, you did your musicals, you wrote plays and everything. Then you started getting really serious and winning awards.
Right, I suppose, yeah. That's yes.
And getting published. And you told me
Yeah.
how hard it is to get published, but
Yeah.
you have to get into the big papers like
The Times,
the Times,
really,
and
yeah.
like to get your poetry in there. To
Right,
get-
because you see, there aren't that many publishers, serious publishers of poetry in Ireland. You know, Salmon, whom I'm with, Jessie Lendenny set that up. She's an American who came over to Galway and started a literary magazine entitled Salmon. And she published my first poem, The Bishop's Gallop, and I was delighted with that because I saw the list of names and there were good, established names, and said, that's good. But then the Honest Ulsterman took a Cavan poem really that was inspired the Cardboard Boxman, and the Honest Ulsterman would be regarded as the literary magazine in Northern Ireland, you know. So that was a start, and I began to just build up, you know, a reputation. You have to do that, and then Jessie began to look and say, okay, we'll go with you. We'll see what you're like. And if it works, the first book works, who knows?
Your,
you know?
your first book was in 1992 or 1991?
91, yeah, Opposite Walls, you know.
And you were still working, of course, you were still teaching at this
Oh, I
time.
was. I
and-
was
and doing
teaching
your
all the
poetry
time.
and
But
doing
you
your writing as
see,
well.
when you're teaching English history, you know, and I taught some Irish too as well, it enhances your work to be creative, you know, and you bring that to the classroom too as well. So I felt that I married, you know what I mean, the creative aspect of the other side of me as well as the teacher, you know.
I would say now, I can say it, you would have been a brilliant teacher, and I'm sure you must have instilled in some of your students a beautiful love of English and
Well, I
literature
hope
and things
so.
like that.
Yeah.
But where did you get yours from, Noel? Did it come from yourself, or where did you pull it from, if you can say?
It's a good point. In secondary school, I was inspired by a Latin teacher, you know, John Mead, who is actually living in Cavan now, and I wrote a poem
That Mr.
in
Mead,
his
you
honour.
call him?
That's right, yes.
On
yeah.
Cathedral Road?
Yes, that's
Mr.
right.
Mead, yeah.
Yes, and he was a very inspiring, extremely brilliant man at Latin. And those days, of course, we had Latin poetry, you know, with Horace's Odes and Virgil. And so I studied the classics, and even when I went to study in Maynooth, I had to take Latin in first year. We had 5 subjects on for first arts.
Would that be what you call pure English?
Yeah, sorry.
The pure English kind of thing?
No, well, it was Latin. Latin,
yeah.
you know, that was one of the subjects there. And then, of course, you had English and you had Irish, and you took 5 subjects, you know.
See how important it is, Noel, for a teacher
Yeah.
to make that come alive for
Yeah.
a student, and how
Yeah.
it could create a brilliant
Yeah.
student,
Yeah.
like for down the line.
Yeah.
You know?
No, he was an exceptionally inspiring teacher. He's totally dedicated. He used to arrive in about 10 minutes before the class, you know, and he'd have a special, his own blackboard, because he'd have prepared it the night before and put it up on the other one, you know, so it's extraordinary. So he was inspiring, and I felt
So
he led me into poetry. Now, the Irish teacher was also good. So I was fascinated when you think of the subjects, you see, you're studying Irish, but you're studying Irish literature. You're studying French, and you're studying French literature. Latin.
So it all connected.
It all connected. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just one language. It wasn't just English. You know?
So you loved all this
I loved all the languages, and still do, and I still jump from one language to another, because you have that liberty in poetry, you know.
Do you think it takes, like, you know, sometimes with musicians and writers and things like that, life experience, you know, you have to gain something, you go through all things doing your life, you know, in life, and then the story comes out of your head. Or some things we were talking earlier about some person who had a horrible life experience or something, or came through something awful, something then switches on creativity, you turn all that into something creative, and it's kind of like a healing thing. And it's just comes so beautiful from the person then.
Well, life, of course, you know, if you take Seamus Heaney, really, when he was asked in some interview, or maybe in one of his lines of poetry, I write to see myself, to set the darkness echoing. So in other words, he was writing sometimes to see the shadow side of his life, you know, as such. I think for myself, you know, writing is about self-truth, because most of us, it takes a whole, like Cavan said, it takes a whole lifetime to get to know the corner of a field.
That's
you
right.
know,
That's a bit I was trying to tag out. It takes your whole lifetime to get to know yourself
and
the changes.
Yeah, exactly.
So
poetry helps me to discover myself and maybe to live with myself. Because, you see, it's like Sean O'Riordan used to say, is more me misha. There's many a me in myself. There's the imaginative self, there's the memory, you know, that you have, there's the life experiences that you have, maybe the education that you have, and all of these seem to come together to make, you know what I mean, that poem. So there's several different...
It can be very philosophical as well, can't it?
It can be, yes.
Yeah.
I think, well, you see, I like to be philosophical about poetry, you know, as such, because it's not in the public domain, poetry, and I'm not worried.
It is becoming quite popular at the moment. You know, recently there was a bit of a thing going on, and it was a programme on television where you had to send in your most favourite poem, and Seamus Heaney poem.
That's right, yes,
Seamus Heaney's
that's
poem
right,
about his mother.
The mother and the potato peeling, and while the rest were away at mass, you know.
He didn't know why one Sunday he was at home watching his mother, or why she stayed at home or whatever.
Yeah.
And the feel of his mother.
Yeah, it's a lovely poem, and it's a lovely mother-son poem, and of course very Irish in that sense.
It was then.
And Cavan, I think, was second, or you know, Christmas Childhood was one of those that was chosen. Yeah, I was on the board of Poetry Ireland for 6 years. You know what I mean? I think it's a wonderful organisation, and I was delighted with that, the outcome of it. You know, as such.
And another great thing as well. You're on the English Honours or English Leaving Cert curriculum.
Right. Well, that was just for 3 years or thereabouts. You know what I mean? So you go on and off. I'm off it at the moment, but I hope to be back again. You know,
that's our teacher. He wrote that poem.
All day long. It was a poem inspired by St. Clair's College in Ballygymstuff, because I taught there, and of course all day long. I have great sympathy for students. I always had, because you know they're meant to sit in desks in these blue uniforms and have 9 different teachers come in, 9 classes for 5-6 years now with the transition year. That's asking a lot when you're a teenager and when you're full of devilment and full of excitement and you want to do anything other than study as such. So I mean, it was looking at it from that point of view. Like sometimes when we're teachers, we rationalise everything, but students think with their heart, and I think poets do.
You could be instilling one of these students something beautiful that somebody instilled into you.
I hope so.
Okay, so we're going to get to talk about Windus now. Windus going to be here in Cavan Crystal Hotel on Saturday, and
tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, and talking about another great poet, Heather Bratt.
Yeah, Heather Bratt.
We're going to talk about Heather, because Heather is I'm going to
launch her collection, Witness,
on Sunday.
Yes, which is a very, very
I think we might.
important.
Oh
vote.
yeah, we'll talk about this.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Windows weekends, because that's what we have
Right,
coming up on the
okay.
screen first. So
Right.
you're starting tomorrow morning. No?
I'm
You have a
starting
very
tomorrow
busy
morning.
weekend,
It's
and
a
we'll be able
very
to throw it on the
yeah.
screen. And you have a very busy
Yeah.
weekend ahead of you.
We're starting with a workshop there. You can see it. Heather's having a workshop for young
she
people.
likes dealing with the young people.
She does, yeah. And she's starting at 11 o'clock and it's going on until 1 o'clock. And it's generally the years from 9 to 13. She has a great rapport with young people, and of course that's what Windows is all about. It's about that national poetry competition. So that's going on, and then the Cavan County Choir are having a rehearsal for the performance later on that night, and we have Blannet Murphy.
She's the conductor.
She's the conductor from the Palestrina Choir of Fame, which is a wonderful conductor and a very famous choir in Dublin.
Well, sorry, just to stop there now when we're talking about that. Were you down at the Burn when the county choir did that?
No, I was
Heather's
away
thing?
that time.
Yeah,
I heard that
we have that on video here.
Right,
now.
I heard that.
Beautiful.
No, I missed that. I was out of
there
the
was
country at that
music
time.
written there by what's his name? No, we'll come to it later.
Right,
He's mentioned
yeah.
there. Sean Doherty.
Sean Doherty, that's right. Yeah.
Taking in the feeling and Heather.
Yeah, and Heather
together, absolutely. Beautiful.
Great.
Beautiful.
No, that's terrific.
So that's so anybody wants to watch out, that's the choir.
The county choir. And in the afternoon then I'm giving a workshop at 2 o'clock to 4:30 for adults, and I believe there's a few seats left.
Few seats left.
Yeah,
No, anybody out there wants to go?
Yeah, there are about 3 seats left in it because we have a limited number. Is that all right? Yeah.
Okay. So anybody who's just interested in poetry, wants to do a workshop, come along.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's in the afternoon. And then after that, at night time, then we start at 8 o'clock. And we have a presentation of certificates for adults, not the students now at this stage, just adults who need to be encouraged in writing and have taken up writing, and we in Windows want to encourage anybody.
Now, I'm a bit lost there, Noel. Is this just in Cavan, or is this people nationwide?
It's generally around Cavan, the Cavan area, with these certificates, and they're writers who are very interested in the work, but need encouragement, and we at Windows like to do that, as such. And then we have the choir again. They're coming back again, and they have a full performance of their work.
I think Sue King is the accompaniment.
That's right. Sue is who's wonderful, because I've worked with her before. And then again,
and of course, anybody can come to see the choir.
Absolutely, and they're great.
Just come on the night.
Just come on the night, yes.
The
and then Tony Curtis, a famous Dublin poet, is coming down. Now, Tony has written 12 books of poetry, at least 12. He's read everywhere in the world practically. Tony is famous for his trips over to Australia and going to the different places, America. I often meet him down at Clifton Arts Festival. He seems to be running that. A lot of the times. He's a very entertaining poet, well worth coming to see, and sometimes he plays the guitar, so he interacts with music and with poetry, and he's a charmer.
Great
really.
medium,
he's really good. So that's really the gist of what's happening on Saturday night.
Now, Sunday, big day for Heather.
Sunday is a very big day for Heather because it's the launch of her book, Witness, and of course the minister is coming. Heather Humphreys is arriving there, and we'll have
deservedly so,
which is wonderful, and we're very delighted. And we'll have the presentation of prizes to all the students.
That's it.
So we have
23rd National Students Poetry Awards. And that's
so we're
Sunday at 4 o'clock.
That's right, yeah. And we are expecting about 300 people. Normally we have had a great attendance so far, and they come from all over Ireland. We're talking about, from Donegal down to Kerry. So the prize winners can be from any county, and we never let anyone know who was won until the day.
So you've been very busy, and you have been very busy.
We got over 1,000 entries on, and there's a lot of work. And we both of us read every poem. Now sometimes we have to read them very quickly, as such, and I often explain that to students at workshops. If you don't pass the first 3-line test, sometimes we might not put it in the right section, you know, so you have a left-hand side and a right-hand side, and that works like that. That's the way it is. One has to select, you know. So that's happening. So we have the presentation of prizes, and then Heather's book is a
I think
huge
we're able to throw up. There's the cover of Heather's
book. It's a
book.
wonderful cover, a really delightful, and
it's kind of like.
It's Renaissance-like, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
it really is intriguing, and this is really dynamic writing. I regard Heather as one of the important Irish women poets. You know, I've no difficulty in
she's
saying
Canadian.
that. She's Canadian.
We
claim her now. You know, I mean, she's living in Cavan long enough. Well, you know, they're very slow in Cavan to tame you.
It's very I'm still a Longford poet. It's very hard to get citizenship in Cavan.
It is, it is. Yeah.
So we actually have our Heather's book here as well, and Noel will be launching that.
That's right. I'm really looking forward to it.
So, Noel, any budding poets out there, closet poets out there, anything like that, what should they do? Just go to workshops. You know, Kate Reynolds had a workshop last night, and obviously we couldn't go to because we went to the choir, the choir last night. It's just all the way some things are always on the same night. Kate Reynolds runs her workshops, and of course they put them out on Facebook and these workshops. So anybody interested in poetry, don't be shy, go along.
No, they should come along.
Don't be shy, go along, do it.
You should come along and listen to, you know, what the established writers have to say. And I remember going off to Dublin and then going up to Trinity College and for a year really, and I studied under Evan Boland. That's when I was teaching, and that gave me the courage to continue writing. But you do pick up the skills. You know, you do have to learn how to write. You know, as such, it's not like getting a degree in English. It's nothing got to do with that at all. In fact, I was talking yesterday in Athlone about Patrick Cavan, who finished in 5th class national school and didn't go any further, although he ended up giving talks every now and then in universities.
Explain that phenomenon to me. My next guest actually is Marlon O'Connor. And Marlon, and she won't mind me saying this because she said it herself, she had a dreadful childhood growing up in Sean McDermott Street in Dublin, left school at 14 and a half, had a horrible life, and she's writing books now. So please tell anybody out there says, oh, I'll never be able to do that. Sure, I was no good at English in school.
It's nothing got to do with no, it's nothing got to do with that at all.
I love to hear that because a lot of people think, sure, I can't write.
No,
is it the story within you, and just tell the story?
It's the story within you. It's almost like the song within people, or the music. Look at all the traditional music people that can play wonderfully and can't read a note. You know what I mean? So it's got to do with talent, I think. You know, and you have. The other poet I was talking about yesterday was W.B. Yeats. Now, he had a little education, but he didn't go through the university system either. So the two great poets, you know, of the 20th century or the late 19th, the 20th century, didn't go to college, so to speak.
Okay, so if anybody inspiring out there, read poetry, read everybody else's poetry, grab every workshop you can go to, listen to people like you reading poets, listen to them on the, you know, Google them, listen to them,
and then
you'll pick up something.
Stay with your own voice all the time. Never, you know what I mean, be assured that, you know, that you stay with your own voice, that you write from within yourself, you know, as such. Because some people, you know, they write. I remember when I started writing poetry in college when I wasn't writing, but I thought I was, and I was imitating, you know, Wordsworth, you know. But I was only a young fella, so I didn't know any better.
Sometimes people would say, oh, college, university might kill creativity.
It could too. It can.
Trying to get the sound, it's like, you know, A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, C, D, all these rhymes. If your poet doesn't go that, your poem doesn't go that way, it's no good.
No, but see, after a while, when you start writing the poems, you might want to develop the form, and that's very important too. And I studied form, you know, as such, because you do need a variation, you know, from one book to another, and you can't have always blank verse. So, you know, some poems demand a musicality or a form, you know, like a sonnet, and sometimes you might use iambic pentameter or something like that, but not necessarily. But it's important every now and then because they ask you in the audience, you know, as such a.
And if you said to them,
your poems don't rhyme, you know. So, you know what I mean, you have to, they do, and you pick out maybe one or two that will do that, you know.
Well, the most interesting I find talking to people like you, and I had an in-depth conversation with Michael Harding, and I said, Michael, what makes you a good writer? And he said, I don't know. He said, I just tell my story. You just do your poems.
That's it. That's it. You know, he's the
so you develop your own. It's great to
your
hear
own
somebody
voice.
like that
Your
saying
own
that,
voice.
saying, no, you don't have to study literature and art. Just your own voice. But you have to develop. You have to know a little
bit. But read others, like you said.
You
point out very clearly. Read others, and I would say not only read the Irish, but read Russians in translation. Read Polish in translation or whatever. Just keep reading and get an interest there, because your reading, helps and your inspiration, and helps you to develop your own voice. But your own voice is so important, really,
Okay. Have you found your own voice now, or do you still?
Well, time is running out for me. I hope. I hope I have.
Leonard Cohen is still writing songs at 80 years of age. Now, come on, you have another bit to go. But do you think, I found my voice at last? Do you think, oh gosh, more, it's still coming?
No, it's still coming. You know what I
Brilliant.
mean? Yeah. Honestly, I get up every day and I live poetry, really, such.
So you don't feel, I've done that now, there's no more, it's just coming all the time. It's been fantastic talking to you, Noel Monaghan.
My pleasure.
And I can see how you would instill a love of literature and writing and poetry and the music as well in anybody, because you're so enthusiastic about it. Your poetry jumps off the page. But before you go, I'm not letting you off the hook, that handy. Please, that most intriguing poem, The Funeral Game.
Oh,
Could you do a little reading from that,
right,
please?
I will indeed, yes.
Do you want to explain it first, or you just want to read it?
Maybe I'll just say a few words about it. Growing up in Granard, in the 50s, we had to create our own recreation. So we used to, one winter in particular, I took a fancy to having the ritual of funerals for little pets, and see, we were on a farm, so chickens.
A little dark.
It was dark, of course it was dark.
But I didn't know to have a funeral.
No, I didn't actually. They were dying. It was a cold winter, and some little chickens were dying. So we used to put them in jam jars or in shoe boxes, as such, and then. I was an altar boy, so I was imitating the whole funeral regalia. So we dress up. It was pretty dramatic, and go to the hay shed and act it out. And I think later, I carried that with me for about 35, 40 years. And I think really that in some way young children prepare for death, because I think they do really, but by acting it out, because again. We all know that death is inevitable, and maybe poets more than other people, in that sense. So that's what's acting it out.
Okay,
I better read the poem.
We're going to hear from The Funeral Game.
Right. The Funeral Game. That winter we came to terms with death. Every shoebox was a coffin for anything small and dead, and we wrapped them in calicos, velvets. We grabbed hats, coats, umbrellas from the hallway to dress as mourners. Someone struck an iron girder in the hay shed to sound the funeral bell. John Joe beat the dead march on a saucepan. We held wakes, issued death certificates to old crows, kittens, chickens, lined the graves with stones, erected crosses with ash sticks. We pretended to cry, struggled with Latin prayers, filled the wet grave in the clover field, genuflected in the direction of a wind bush. The rain pelting down, we left by a side gap, back to the hay shed for tea, bread, butter, for all who travelled long journeys.
Fantastic. Well,
Thank
there you
you.
are, folks. That's The Funeral Game from Beautifully Wed and a beautiful poem by Noel Monaghan. Noel, thank you so much for coming
My pleasure,
in.
Aine.
You've
Thank
just
you
given
very
me
much.
so much about poetry. It's absolutely beautiful, and I
Thank
can
you.
see how you would instill the love into anybody. We wish you and Heather, of course, with the
Yes.
launch of her book, and we wish the
Yes. Heather's
windows-
book is particularly good.
Heather's book is particularly
yeah.
good,
So
and
keep
we
an
wish
eye out
you
for
the
it.
best. Yes, folks,
Thank
we'll
you,
watch
Aine.
out for that book, and we wish Windows Literally Weekend the very best.
Thank you very much. My
Thank you.
pleasure, Aine.
So that's it for this part of the programme. Please do come with me because we're still on literature this week, and as I said last week, I met up with Marilyn O'Connor, and Marilyn launched her book in the JCL library, and that's The Legend of Loch Sheelin. But for now we're going to go for a break. Please do come back.
Cavan Crystal Hotel provides 4-star accommodation on the edge of Cavan town. Located conveniently on the Dublin Road, just 60 minutes away from Dublin. With 85 beautifully appointed bedrooms and a number of luxurious suites. We offer wedding packages. With our one wedding a day policy, we guarantee to make yours a special day. Enjoy a meal at our award-winning Opus One restaurant, or have a drink in the atrium or residence bars. Feeling energetic? You can work out in Zest Health and Fitness Club, or maybe pamper yourself and visit Utopia Health and Beauty Clinic, or Avita's Hair Salon, both located on site. Situated only 5 minutes from Cavan Town Centre and local amenities. Cavan Crystal Hotel, gateway to Ireland's Lakelands.
And welcome back. As I said, I was speaking to Marilyn O'Connor, a wonderful lady. The wonderful story of Marilyn is that Marilyn left school at 14 and a half years of age, and well, as she said herself, life wasn't really good to her. So, but at this stage of her life, she's come through a lot. She's written 2 books. The first one is published, and this one is her first children's book, and that's The Legend of Loch Sheelin. Have a look at this interview I did with Marilyn earlier last week. Well, if you were one of the lucky people who was in the Johnston Central Library last night at a book launch, you would have seen the launch of The Legend of Loch Sheelin, a beautiful child's story, and it's written by the one and only Marilyn O'Connor. Well, I caught up with Marilyn and we brought her into the studio, and we're going to have a great chat. First of all, I'd like to welcome you to the studio, Marilyn.
Thank you very much.
I know you're very busy. You had a fantastic launch last night. Your book, brilliant. But you're the most amazing lady. You are so talented.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's get on to The Legend of Loch Sheelin. I like the graphics on the front as well, Marilyn.
Thank you very much. I actually designed it myself, which is a huge thing because
Multi-talented.
I would not be, I'd be able to write you a poem, write you a story, but art would not be my thing. So to be able to design the cover myself, I'm very, very proud of that, I have to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, the book itself, it's a children's book.
It is. It's for children from the ages of 8 to 12. You know, around that age, I think would find it enjoyable.
Okay, so there you are, folks. The Legend of Loch Sheelin. Marlon, you're an amazing person. You sent me in your bio. You're very talented as well. You've done plenty of things. You wrote a song.
I did.
And you won an award for it.
I did.
I've been singing all my life, but I have never even once got paid for it, let alone won an award. Come on, tell me.
Well, what it was is people from Cavan might know me from work I did in writing a Christmas song called Christmas is a Special Time, and I worked with 50 children from 6 local schools, and they were from the ages of 5 to 11. And
do you want to mention the school?
Oh gosh, there was Kilmallock School, there was Crusherlaw School, there was Ballinari, there was Brusky. I can't remember all of them because it's 2008. But I worked with the lovely Eileen Tackney and her brother Kieran, and we, between us, we orchestrated the whole project, and the whole of Cavan the community got involved. And through the sales of the song, we raised enough money to buy a specially adapted minibus for the Holy Family School in Coote Hill, which was really badly needed. And to this day, I still get newsletters from them, let me know that the staff are still fighting over whose turn it is to drive the bus.
So fantastic. That was a great initiative. Whose idea was all of
It was
that?
mine.
Your idea?
I have
Brilliant.
2 children who have Asperger's, and which is a form of autism. And there was a question mark as to whether one of them would need to attend the Holy Family School. And when I went to the Holy Family School and I saw that they didn't have a bus to take the children on field trips, I was highly disgusted, to be honest, and I felt the Celtic Tiger didn't touch them. And through sheer determination, I was determined to buy them a bus, and I did.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And as well as that as well, you also you produced Slave Gow's performance of...
Yes, Run for Your Wife and Funny Money, and they were 2 huge successful productions. They toured, they sold out in Cavan. Every single show was sold out, and we ended up doing more dates. And not only did we do that, then we actually went on a tour down as far as Kilshima. We were touring down there with the Amdram group, and did sold out in the Rammer Theatre. So yes. Gosh. I have to say though that the Cavan people were so warm to me, and any project that I did, especially those 2 Mammoth projects, they all got behind me 100%. You know, and their support and encouragement is what gave me the go to keep going and see these projects through.
Yeah. So what age are your children now?
Oh gosh, my oldest is 30.
My goodness, I thought you were going to say like 15 or 16. I'm sorry. Go.
No,
ahead.
my oldest daughter Lindsay is 30 and she lives in the UK. I have a son Billy who's 25. I have a son Michael who's 20. I have a daughter Kate who's 17, and I have a daughter Phoebe who's 15.
Oh, lovely. So you do have somebody at home.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, writing the book. Now, they say, you know, what made you write a children's book? You know, people like to write different things, but what made you pick a children's book?
I think it's because I would have been a great storyteller to my children. I've always loved, as a child myself, I grew up in the inner city of Dublin. I grew up on John McDermott Street, and we were very poverty stricken. And to access books was a huge privilege. But I was a huge fan of Enid Blyton. The Famous Five and The Twins at St. Clair's would have been my favourite books. And thank God for libraries.
Did you go into the library when you were young, yeah?
Yes.
But you lived in the library
Yeah,
then.
thank God for libraries, because that would have been, there's no way you could have afforded books when I was growing up. So
Isn't that absolutely amazing, Marlon, to grow up near Sean McDermott Street, where there certainly wasn't a culture of learning books and things like that. Do you now having your own book on a shelf?
I have to say it's very surreal. It's very, very surreal. It's where I got the inspiration for that book is through my own children. My own children were my inspiration for it. And I just fell in love with the story of the Owen and Sabina, and I took the bones of
And you
that
kind of put a little modern day twist on it as
Yes,
well.
I
You
did.
kind of made it real and yet wonderful at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I started writing it in 2008, but I only finished writing it with major life changes happened, so I didn't finish writing it till the end of 2014. Up to January 2015 was when I finished writing it.
Okay, so lots of people out there saying, yes, I'd love to write a book, I'd love to write a book is the right thing to do. Now, we did have a little chat beforehand. You have to be disciplined to write a book. It's just literally writing down your story, putting it down on the page, isn't it? Or is it as simple as that, Marlon?
Well, it is. I think if you are saying out loud or saying in your mind, I want to write a book, then you are a writer. It's as simple as that. You have to have the passion. They say, nobody can teach you to write. I would agree with that to a point. I actually, myself now, what I do is I actually do teach writing classes. But what I do is all I do is I bring out the skills in people that they already have inside, and they use their own skills to write. But if anybody wants to write, you just sit down and you write. The first 3 pages are the hardest to write. And what we're great at doing is, you heard the term writer's block. Well, I would agree to a point that there is such thing as a writer's block, but I think we ourselves cause our writer's block by over-editing. We always try to second guess what our readers want to read. And we don't write from our heart. And when you start trying to second guess what your reader wants to read, that's when your writer's block comes in. Because
so that's a bit of the secret. And you also think, oh my goodness, who wants to read my story? It's not good enough. What about that syndrome?
Well, that's all artistic people are very, very self-critical. So the thing is, that's what we have editors for. That's why we have a delete button. That's why we have Tipex. That's why we can cross things out. When you're writing, never ever second guess yourself, your ability, your words, your language, and never ever second guess what you think your reader wants to read. Just let your creative, it's in your head, write it down. Because that's what you can edit afterwards. If you try and edit and you try and correct it as you go along, that's where blocks come in, and that's where self-doubt comes in.
You're very inspirational. You make it seem really easy to sit down and write a book, which I'm sure it is not.
Well, I tell you, right, let me give you a bit of history. I came from a very, very, very deprived, poor background. I left school when I was 14 and a half. I've little or no
So
education.
you left before your intercert at the time would have been. You left before that.
Just at the intercert.
And you now right. So there you are, folks. This girl left school at 14 and a half, and she's written a book. So like, there's no excuse for the rest of us now, is there?
Absolutely
inspirational. Yeah, but it's wonderful, Marion. I mean, we heard so many success stories about people. You don't have to go to university and get a degree to be a good businessman. Look, our own Sean Quinn is an entrepreneur, and he didn't go through school. So if you have the love, obviously inspiration, and the love and the will to do it, that's what counts. That's what matters.
Absolutely, it really
passion,
does. And it's passion, believe it or not, love is what makes the world go round, and there's more truth than that. And it's about self-love. You know, hold on to your passion. Don't let anybody put you down. Don't let anybody say you're not creative. Don't let anybody tell you it's rubbish. There's no such thing as rubbish. If it's your words, if it's in your mind and you've written it, it's a work of art. It's a piece of art.
I'm going to chisel you on something there now. That's really inspirational stuff. You're very inspirational, and I can see how you'll be good at giving a creative writing class, and you just let it flow. But in this day and age, you know, like with social media and Twitter and things like that, that's a cruel world out there, isn't it? They're so critical of everything and anybody, especially people who are out there and are famous. You can be just knocked off your pedestal by saying, you're fat and ugly now, go. And that is the way the world is now today, isn't it?
It is very, very much so. Now, I myself have only recently set up a Facebook page. I wouldn't be a huge one for social media. For that reason, I find it's...
If you put yourself out there, it is, and if you put yourself out there, you're going to have to take the dislikes with the likes, you know?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, when, like, you know, I'm doing it now. My book is out there. I'll get people that will love it. I'll get people that maybe not love it as much, but that's fine. When you go as far as getting yourself published, getting a book published, you are leaving yourself in the domain, and you have to take it on the chin. That some things may not be, you know, as favourable as you want them to be. Of course, everyone who's an artist wants everyone to love their work.
Yeah, because this is your work, it's your emotions. Like a singer, that's my voice you're criticising, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. All I want to do is sing, and for you to tell me I should sing this way or that way, you know, it's kind of a bit destructive in a way.
I would say it depends on how it's said to you, and I think it depends on how you as a person take it. I think constructive criticism is always very helpful, and it's very good is a good way of learning. But I think if there's personal attacks on people's
that's what is out there in the net and the trolls, you know, like say somebody put up your book and then underneath comments you see all these comments and you go like, you know, that's so hurtful. But then you take the choice whether you read it or not.
Well,
really,
you take the choice whether you read it or not. But I mean, for me, like, I don't know how you would determine. I don't get offended by that because I have self-belief. I believe in myself. I believe in my ability as a writer, and I believe in the passion and the love that I have, and I have put it into this book. And for every bad comment that I will get, I'll get 30 good comments. So why would I let the bad one, you know, destroy the good ones?
Yeah.
You know, but that's how I would view things. I would take it on the chin, and I don't let things like that bother me.
So I know that if anybody came to you and said, Marlon, I want to write a book, but I'm afraid of this one, X, Y, and Z, you certainly would put them at ease.
Absolutely.
It's just do your passion, be your love. Now, speaking of passion and love, you met the love of your life.
I did.
Vincent.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. beautiful story. It's not a story.
Thank
It's beautiful, you know. And that's, you know, I read your email and your bio and everything, and to meet somebody with so much love, and you had it for a short time.
Yes,
But
3.5 years.
But you're so lucky to have had that in your life, isn't it?
Yeah, I am.
Tell me all about Vincent. It's sad, but it's happy because, you know, you had great love.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
And I still do. And I always will. Vincent and I met 3.5 years ago. It's over 4 years ago now. But we were 3.5 years together.
Sorry, don't you put me under pressure. You're not going to get all emotional. But
No.
Tell us some of the story. It's beautiful. Yeah.
And we instantly fell in love, and we were totally inseparable. We were just, it sounds corny, it sounds whatever, but it's my truth. We were totally in love.
Yeah. This thing of soulmates,
Yeah.
really, is it there? Is there such a thing?
Well, I can speak from my own personal
Okay.
experience, and for me, yes, it was absolutely there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then Vincent got sick in February.
He just started off with a pain in his arm.
2013, and you know, there's a message behind what I'm going to say too. He had a terrible pain in his arm, and we went to doctors several times, and they told us that he had rotary cuff tendinitis because he'd been cutting a hedge, and they said he'd, you know, pulled some tendons in his arm. The pain got progressively worse, so much so that in February 2014, the 8th of February, he was taken into hospital. And there and then, in casualty through an X-ray, he was diagnosed as having bone cancer. Now, my husband, when it was the most fittest, he was an ex-military man. He was 6'3". He never smoked, never drank.
Yeah.
Lived a very healthy lifestyle.
What age was he then?
He was 52,
Oh my goodness.
and so his cancer diagnosis didn't make any sense whatsoever. Then he was taken into hospital to have more tests, and we were told, well, actually, the cancer in his arm is a secondary cancer. The primary cancer is a 16-centimetre tumour on his kidney.
Oh my goodness.
But we didn't lose
And absolutely
faith,
no other symptoms.
no symptoms, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing. He wasn't losing weight, he wasn't tired, all the things that you'd imagine
Yeah.
that would be there. It wasn't
Nothing.
there. No.
So there's a story there for people, you know. Keep
Just
an
take
eye
care
on
of
your health.
yourself. Keep an eye on your health, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
You must have felt awful that you met the love of your life then. You must have felt robbed then when you heard that.
I did, yeah. I did get very angry.
Mm.
I'd come from quite a traumatic background, and to have met somebody that loved me and accepted me was just amazing. And one thing that I learned from Vincent was, and I will hold this till the day I die, is that I can love and I am lovable. And if I never learn anything else from that relationship, that's what I will take with me, that I can love and I am lovable.
Yeah. So just for your little 3.5 years, will that wash everything away for you?
It doesn't wash it away, no, of course not. I think about him all the time. I sometimes I still get a little bit angry, because we got married on the 13th of August. We firmly believed, we knew that Vincent was very, very sick. We weren't delusional to ever think that we would get old together, but we honestly did think that we had a lot more time than we did. And 3 weeks after the wedding, I buried him to the day.
Yeah.
So that was tough, and sometimes I feel
And you actually have a
angry.
beautiful picture of that one. I don't know if we're able to shoot it up right now, but you have a beautiful picture of it, and I've seen a beautiful picture of it in the set.
Thank
and
you.
it was lovely, and thanks for sharing it with us. But just to get back to the, when you sent me your email of you were with him when he died,
Yes.
you seem to have a serenity or an acceptance of it, or you seem to be at peace with it. And he wanted you with him, and you were with him when he passed away, and you brought him home as well. And that all mattered, didn't it?
It absolutely did. I felt I couldn't give him the love that he needed and the support that he needed in the hospital surrounding him. It's really hard when you've got doctors and nurses flying around, and Vincent's choice was to come home. So I was so delighted that he made that choice, and I do believe that it gave him that extra few days. But all through all through from the moment Vincent was diagnosed on the 8th of February, this huge, unbelievable fear of death surrounded both of us. I was so frightened of him dying. He was so frightened of leaving me. And after we got married and his health started to really deteriorate, we'd spoken for hours and hours and hours about the fear that both of us was feeling. And when it actually came to him dying, I will never forget it as long as I live. As sad as it was to lose Vincent, and as painful as it was, I have no fear of death now. And I watched his face, and he had no fear of death. It wasn't as scary or as terrifying as I had imagined it to be. He went so beautiful, so peaceful in my arms.
That's beautiful. Is he with you now?
Absolutely. Vincent is with me all the time. He's always there. I feel him. He sat on me to finish writing this book.
So he's here at this launch of the book. He was at the launch of the book.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Absolutely, yes, yes.
They are the legend of Loch Shiel. And Marlon O'Connor, you're an absolutely wonderful person. You've written a book, written a song. You had the children down in the Holy Family School down in Coothill. You also do some work for voluntary organisations like Women's Aid. You're an advocate. An advocate, yes, thank you, for that sort of work. You're wonderful. And you even got time to do the graphics on the front of your book.
Yes.
Wonderful. Where do your talents stop? You mentioned that your children had Asperger's.
Yes.
Usually that comes with very clever people, you know that?
Yes. They are extremely clever. They're extremely talented. They're all musicians, beautiful singers, beautiful musicians. When they were growing up,
was it your first two older children that?
No, it was two middle ones.
Really?
We're like the Addams family, really. We were, yes. But they live quite independent lives now, and they have their ways, but they're beautiful, beautiful human beings.
Yeah. Do you feel now, just to get on to sort of like the current kind of topics, do you think there's enough done now, or is there even enough awareness of things like that now, of autism, there's several different kinds of autism, you know, Down syndrome, all these kind of things, to integrate people into society? Do you think there's enough awareness, there's enough done in schools, or do you think more could be done? Or,
right, I think,
or is it an ongoing thing?
I think it's come an awful long way from when my son was young.
I'd say so, yeah.
I do believe that in school years the help is there. What is absolutely so scary is that when a child gets to 16, there's nothing, or there's very, very, very little. And that's when they need it the most. That's when they're coming into their really serious adolescence. That's when their hormones are all over the place. In a child that doesn't have any learning difficulties, that's when they need so much more support, and the support isn't there. The services aren't there, and that's where I would have a bone of contention with the government and the services, the HSE. I just feel that, you know, we can cocoon our children. We get special help for them in schools. They're part of physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech and language therapy. All of those services are there. Okay, there may be delays in accessing them, but the services are there, and your child will get seen eventually. Get a child to 16, 17, up to 18. There is nothing.
So you feel they're thrown to the lions then?
Absolutely.
After that?
And yes, I really unequivocally believe that. And it's that is when they need it the most. Asperger's and autism does not get better when you get to 16, 17 and 18. That's an ongoing thing. What they learn to do is they learn to have coping skills. They learn, but that doesn't stop sometimes dark depressions, that doesn't stop. They do still need adequate services, and those services aren't there. I have to go off my soapbox now.
But that's okay, you know, there's an election coming up next year, Marlon, and no doubt you'll be well able to when they knock on your doorstep, when you knock on your door, that you'll be well able to speak. Again, you're a fantastic person yourself, and I keep admiring you, and I sincerely mean it. But you've come through a lot in your life. Now, we don't want to talk about it. This is not the time and the place. This is a happy time where we talk about the launch of your book. But Marlon, what has brought you through what you've been through?
Positive attitude.
Maybe just for the people out there who say, well, what did you suffer? What was wrong? Just in a nutshell, because there are reasons why we don't want to go into it.
Yeah, I'd had quite an abusive past.
Okay, so
that's what I can
so
say.
You've had an abusive past, okay, and
not where I was abused, not where I was, not that I was abusive, but where I was abused.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a hell of a lot for a little girl growing up, whatever, like to cope with that. And we all know now, like, we need, like my last guest on the programme, they were talking about the mother was in an orphanage. Mary was talking about her mother in an orphanage and her mother dying when she was young. And like nowadays, oh my goodness, there would be so much services there now. You would get therapy and all sorts of things like that. But what happened to you has made you the person you are in a way as well.
Yeah, it has.
It's an amazing thing. You've turned something bad into something good. Can I say that in a nutshell?
Oh, thank you. Well, it's like, what do you do? Well, for me, how I saw it was, for as long as I'm holding pain, for as long as I'm holding anger, bitterness, or I hold on to anything negative, I'm allowing those people that hurt me to still have control. And I have a bugbearer with two words, victim and survivor. I am neither a victim, nor am I a survivor. I am just Marilyn. And I was Marilyn when I was born, and I'll be Marilyn till the day I die. So I'm no better than any person in this world, or I'm no worse than any person in this world. It's my God-given right to live my life as I choose, as I want to, which is in a very positive light, and which is to be supportive to other people.
What is the one thing that keeps you thinking that, Marilyn? Is it comes from within yourself, or is it looking at your children, or is it the God in the sky that you love, or adore?
God and I aren't very good friends at the moment because he took my Vincent away, so I have to reconcile that one. So I think it would be self-belief, because I know what it's like to be at the bottom. So
self-belief, Marilyn, literally keeps you from spiralling into the depths of depression.
Yeah.
Alcoholism. A lot of people who have been abused in any kind of a way, they can't cope. They go out of control, go down the road of drug abuse.
That only makes a problem 10
Of course,
times
but
worse.
I can understand that too, because sometimes you just cannot cannot get your head out of the barrel. You can, and it's self-belief you're saying has brought you out there.
It's self-belief and this little voice inside me saying that if I go into a negative thing, if I use the word victim or survivor, I'm still allowing those people to have control over my life. And I won't allow anybody to have control over my life ever again. I won't allow, because I can guarantee those people that hurt me, they're not sitting at home crying or feeling like down or whatever because of what they've done. So why should I? I'm an empowered,
so your self-belief in yourself is the tool that you use to keep yourself in the place you are now.
Yeah.
Marlon O'Connor, you're an absolute beautiful lady on the outside and the inside.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you so much. You're a very talented lady, and I wish you the very best with the legend of Loch Sheelan. And no doubt we'll hear from you again. Thank you so much, Marlon O'Connor, for coming into the studio this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Anya. It's my pleasure.
That's this week's programme. I'd like to say thanks to my guest in the studio, Noel Monaghan. I so enjoyed talking to Noel. Wish him the very best with the Windows Literary Weekend, and to Heather Brett on the launch of her book. And also thanks very much to Marilyn O'Connor, and Marilyn is signing her book tomorrow in Easton's. Well folks, it's the weekend. Now tonight, as I said in the programme, we're going to Blessings, and we're going to go to a fundraiser for Nepal. And then in the middle of the night, we're going to get up and join everybody in the walk from darkness to light for Pieta House. That's what we're going to do for the weekend. But it's the weekend for you. Away you go. Have a good weekend, and please do take care.